As I film this, the NFL draft is less than 5 hours away, and what I wanted to do is go through my final mock draft. This is what I think is going to happen, and a little bit just mixed in with like predictive stuff, but generally, I think this is what is going to happen just based off of the stuff I see, and more or less just based on what seems fairly logical, right? So, kicking it off at number one, it's Fernando Mendoza to the Raiders. This is going to happen. I would argue this pick got locked in when he won the Heisman, but anyway. Number two, Arvell Reese to the New York Jets. I think there's like a 5% chance that they go with David Bailey, but I think you bank on Reese's athleticism, and you take him at number two to play edge. At number three, I have the Saints trading up to get David Bailey. I think Bailey is just a phenomenal prospect. Sure, he's not quite as athletic as Reese, and he doesn't have quite the bend, but I think the production you can get out of him is phenomenal, and I think the Saints desperately need a true edge rusher because Cam Jordan is like, what, 36, and he's not on the team right now, I don't think. But trade up to number three with the Cardinals, who want to move back anyway, and get your potential edge of the future. At number four, I have Tennessee going with Jeremiah Love. If you can just get Cam Ward, like anybody who isn't like a future plumber or accountant, I think you need to do that. And Jeremiah Love, in my opinion, is one of the maybe two blue chip players in this class, and that's stretching it. But Jeremiah Love at four to the Titans. I don't think Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears prevent you from taking Jeremiah Love. At number five, I have the Giants taking Sonny Styles. This just makes the most sense. You desperately need to improve your linebacking core, and Sonny Styles is a freak at the position for his size, for everything. Just take him and your defense immediately improves. Now at number six, if you can't tell, a bit of a Browns fan, but at number six, I have the Browns taking Caden Proctor. I don't like this pick. I think it's far too early for Caden Proctor. However, the Browns are reportedly in love with Caden Proctor as a prospect, and it's hard not to be, right? He's like 6'8", 350, 360. This is like, and he's one of the few actual left tackles in this draft, which the Browns desperately need. DeJuan Jones has flashed, like really flashed at times, but I think the most games he's played in a season is like 11 or 12. I might be wrong on that. But the Browns reportedly love Caden Proctor, and if you can get your guy at left tackle at 6, just take him. Apparently the Browns also want to trade out of 6. The problem with that is who is trading up to 6 and for whom? Because who do you want to trade up for? Maybe Reuben Bain? Maybe the Chiefs or the Commanders would jump up to get him, but I don't know. I love Reuben Bain as a prospect. I don't think he's worth trading up for. I think he'll just naturally fall to you if the Browns take a tackle. But anyway, Cleveland takes Caden Proctor at 6 to hopefully solve left tackle of the future. At number 7, the Commanders take Carnell Tate. Your wide receiving core is Terry McLaurin and who else? Luke McCaffrey. You desperately need some help. You need to give Jaden Daniels help. And Carnell Tate is just a polished receiver, great route runner. He can stretch the field. I think he is probably, if Jordan Tyson hadn't had the injury stuff, I think Carnell Tate would have been the second best receiver in the class. But as of right now, he is the best receiver in the class. At 8, the Cardinals, originally at 3, come down to take Francis Maui-Noah. Apparently there are injury concerns with Maui-Noah. He has like a herniated disc in his back. I don't know how legitimate that is, but that's a big injury. I still don't think that changes the fact that he is probably the best true tackle in the class, at least the most ready to go right now. Plug him in at right tackle and he'll work. At number 9, Kansas City Chiefs take Reuben Bain. Again, just he's too good. Obviously the arm length is a bit of a concern, but it didn't really faze him at all in college. Just so dominant and fast, and his bend for his size is stupid, but line him up on the edge, slide him inside on third down. I think he'll work wherever you put him. At number 10, the Giants have the Bengals pick. Take Caleb Downs. He's the best player on the board. You need help on defense, and I think John Harbaugh will really like just a hard-hitting box safety. At 11, I have the Dolphins taking Spencer Fano. In Daniel Jeremiah's latest mock draft, he had the Browns taking Stefano at 6. I don't understand that at all. And apparently that's like a popular opinion now within the league. I don't get it. Spencer Fano, yes, he's a left tackle, but he doesn't have phenomenal play strength. The arm length is a bit of a concern. He's incredibly quick. He's very agile, but I don't know if you can trust Spencer Fano on the boundary with, the Micah Parsons and the T.J. Watts and the Trey Hendricksons of the world. I don't buy it, and I don't see why he would go at 6. But then again, it's the Browns. They'll probably take him. At number 12, I have Dallas taking Mansour Delane. The report is if he's there, Jerry's taking him. And I think he's going to be there, and I think Jerry's going to take him. At 13, I have the Rams taking Mekhi Lemon. This has been like the consensus for a while now, but it makes a lot of sense because between Rehab Puka and like 35-year-old Devontae Adams, who do you have in your receiving core? You need to upgrade receiver. You're in your Super Bowl window with Matt Stafford. Get him more help. At number 14, I have the Baltimore Ravens taking Vega Ioane. You have a glaring need at guard, and Vega Ioane is, in my opinion, the second blue chip player in this class. Him and Jeremiah Love are, in my opinion, the only two. But then again, my opinion probably doesn't mean a whole lot. But just take him, immediately improve your O-line, help out Lamar Jackson. At 15, I have the Buccaneers taking Hakeem Mesidor. The Bucs, in my opinion, are definitely one of the hardest teams to mock in the first round. You need help on offense. You need a receiver. You desperately need a linebacker help. You need edge help. The Bucs are a good team, but they're missing some like standout players at a lot of positions. And Mesidor, I'm not a big fan of Mesidor. Obviously, he's a 25-year-old rookie. I think besides his ability just to win quick, I don't think there's a lot to his game. But he's probably as polished a pass rusher as you're going to get right now. And if the Bucs want any chance of making it to the Super Bowl, let alone just trying to win the NFC South, just take some immediate help off the edge. At 16, I have the Jets taking Jordan Tyson. I love Jordan Tyson, but the injury concerns are massive, and you can't ignore that. But then again, the Jets have so many picks this year and next year. Why not take a flyer on a guy whose potential is as high as anybody's in this draft? At 17, I have the Lions taking Monroe Freeling. It just seems like they're going to take a left tackle, or just a tackle in general, and kick him over to left tackle, or kick Penei Sewell over to left tackle. The Lions taking Freeling just makes too much sense here. He's incredibly raw, but his upside is incredible because he has the size you can't teach. At 19, I have at 18, I have the Vikings taking Dylan Thieneman. Just a real hard-nosed player. He's kind of like the first one in, last guy out type of guy. Just probably brings his lunch pail to work kind of guy. But Thieneman's a great player. You replace Harrison Smith with him, which, funny how that works. But anyway, at 19, I have the Panthers taking Kenyon Sadiq. I don't see a world where Sadiq gets past the Panthers. Sadiq is just a freak athlete at the position. He's really just a big receiver. He's a great blocker running downhill. I think he'll struggle a lot blocking against defensive linemen, initially at least, but he's just too good of a player to pass up on, and you desperately need help at tight end anyway. At 20, I have the Dallas Cowboys taking C.J. Allen. You need somebody to play linebacker for you, and C.J. Allen is about as good as anybody in this class at the position. This is a phenomenal linebacker class, so you could wait until the second round. Well, I don't think Dallas has their second round pick this year. I think the Jets have theirs. But I think you could still find someone good in the third round anyway. So you could wait on linebacker, but I wouldn't risk it when someone like Allen is just there and he's falling into your lap. Just take him. He's a phenomenal player, and he will do wonders to help that defense. At 21, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers taking Blake Miller with the plan to stick him at right tackle and move Troy Fautanu over to left. The Broderick Jones experiment looks like it's not really going anywhere, so maybe you can kick him inside to left guard. Again, that's not, a magic solution for all failed tackle prospects, but maybe he'd improve his game slightly. At 22, I have the Chargers taking Keldrick Falk. Keldrick Falk is one of my biggest draft crushes this year. I love his game. His size is, you can't teach his size. The height, the weight, the arm length. He's just a freak. Obviously, there's going to be like, well, he didn't put up a lot of sacks in college. Well, go look at what he did in 2024 as a teenager playing in the SEC. And go look at what his assignments were. He wasn't asked to rush the passer, a lot. This sounds like Shamar Stewart last year. We all know how Shamar Stewart's first year kind of went. But I think Falk is just a completely different prospect. And the Chargers desperately need help on the edge, on the interior. You can put Falk on the edge for rush downs and then move him inside for third down. But you need to plan beyond Khalil Mack, who's like 36 now. He's back on like a 1-year deal, I think. But you need to plan beyond him. And I like Tuli Tuipulotu, but I don't think he stops you from taking Falk. At 23, I have the Philadelphia Eagles taking Max Iannaccio. He's incredibly raw as a prospect, more raw, I don't think raw is a word, more raw than Monroe Freeling. But I really like Iannaccio and his potential. I think, obviously, Lane Johnson is not getting any younger, so you stick him behind Lane Johnson for a year, maybe two, and the Eagles have a very good history of developing raw tackles. But then again, Jeff Stoutland is not there anymore. We'll see what happens. At 24, I have the Browns taking Omar Cooper Jr. The Browns have to come away in the first round with a tackle and a receiver. They, in my opinion, reached on Caden Proctor at 6. I don't think you're reaching on Omar Cooper here at 24. I love Cooper as a prospect. I don't think he's the best receiver in this class by any means, but he's a very, very solid receiver, and you desperately need somebody to catch the ball, whether it's from Shador, Deshaun Watson, Dylan Gabriel, if he somehow sees playing time this year. Just give them somebody to throw the ball to, because if you're not throwing it to Harold Fannin and him miraculously breaking 100 tackles, you're throwing it to Jerry Jeudy, who won't catch it. So get Cooper. He catches, and he's great after the catch. At 25, Chicago takes Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. This just seems like it's going to happen. McNeil-Warren is a great prospect. I love him. I wouldn't hate if the Browns actually took him, but safety is not your biggest need. But McNeil-Warren is just a very, very good safety prospect, and I think Chicago would really benefit from his presence in the backfield. You could also consider defensive line, which you really need to consider, but I don't think there's good enough value here. I mean, you could take Caden McDonald. You could, reach on an edge rusher. Maybe you could take TJ Parker, like I have going next pick. Maybe you could take Zion Young, but I think McNeil-Warren is a safer prospect, and you can get some very good defensive linemen, specifically defensive tackles, in round 2. 26, like I just said, Buffalo takes TJ Parker. I feel like the Bills are going to end up taking a receiver just to get Josh Allen more help, but you desperately need help on the edge. Greg Rousseau is fine, and Bradley Chubb is, if you can get 10 sacks out of him, I think that's the max you're going to get. You need help off the edge, and I think TJ Parker brings that. He was phenomenal in 2024, struggled quite a lot in 2025. He came on towards the end of the year, and he was great at the Senior Bowl, but you have to do better off the edge, and I think TJ Parker's I lost my train of thought, but I think TJ Parker's just raw ability is his potential. There we go. I think his potential is as good as any edge in this class. At 27, I have the Niners taking Caleb Lomu. I keep seeing this. If he's there, the Niners are taking him. I think it makes too much sense. You re-sign Trent Williams, but that's probably more like a 1-year deal in reality. Sit him behind Trent Williams for a year or two if he decides to see the contract out, and then boom, you have a starter at left tackle for hopefully 8-10 years. 28, I have Houston taking Caden McDonald. You can fix your interior offensive line in the second round. There's a lot of guards and centers that are incredible in this class, but the positional value is just not quite there in the first round, I think. But McDonald is phenomenal, just a massive space eater. And if he's on the inside, Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter are going to have a phenomenal year. At 29, I have the Chiefs taking Jermon McCoy. The thing with the Chiefs is they need help building up their defense again, and the offense as well. But you have a free first-round pick. Well, not free. You had to trade away when you're, all-pro corner Trent McDuffie. But you can kind of take a flyer here on Jermon McCoy's potential. He didn't play in 2025. His 24 tape was unreal. There's more reports coming out about his knee, his other knee, that apparently it's like a degenerative ACL, I think. But take a flyer on him at 29. It's not like you're burning pick 9 on him, right? Take a flyer on him at 29. If he works out, you have your corner of the future, your corner one of the future. If not, no big deal. This is a very talented corner class, and you could easily take another in round 3. At 30, I have the Dolphins taking Casey Concepcion. I love him as a prospect. The big thing that worries me is the catching. If he can rework his catching mechanics, I think he's going to be one of the most electrifying and most fun receivers in the league. But the Dolphins, reworked their O-line, and I don't think I clarified earlier. The Dolphins are taking Lomu to be a guard. I didn't clarify that earlier. Dolphins take Lomu to be a guard. You take Concepcion to give Malik Willis some kind of help, because you sign a pretty unproven quarterback and then take away all of his help except for Devon Achane. But take Concepcion. He's a great deep threat return man. Just great player. At 31, the draft is in Pittsburgh this year. I am very confident the Steelers are going to trade back up into the first round and do something. I would not be shocked if it's Ty Simpson, which I have here. I don't know. This just seems like very Pittsburgh to do. Trade back up in the first round at the draft in Pittsburgh and take your potential quarterback of the future. I don't think Will Howard is it. I think he can be fine if Aaron Rodgers doesn't come back this year, which I don't see why he wouldn't. They hired Mike McCarthy as the new head coach. But, you take Ty Simpson, have him sit for a year or two, and he may be your quarterback going forward. And at 32, I have the Seahawks taking Avion Terrell. He's another big draft crush of mine. I think you take him here at 32. That is unreal value. I think he can play on the outside. I think he'll be strongest in the nickel. But he's just a phenomenal player. So much work ethic, willingly tackles. Just great player. I wouldn't be surprised if the Seahawks traded out of 32 because they only have, I think, 4 picks in this draft. But if you can get a guy like Avion Terrell at 32 and just say, hey, we're coming off our Super Bowl and we're just going to try and rerun it again. We've lost some key players, but we think we can rerun it. Take Avion Terrell and he immediately allows your corner room to flourish again. But that is my final mock draft. I guess my predictive mock draft. I'm hoping I can get like 5 to 7 picks right. I'm not happy with this list at all. I reworked it a lot. I'm not at all happy with 23 down, but I think this is fairly realistic, and I also think it's what will almost certainly be realistic. I think a lot of these teams will end up taking the positions here, maybe just not the players. But if you made it to the end, thank you for listening to me ramble, and it's time for the draft. Have a good one.